The aroma of pot roast filled the Pierce family's dining room in Columbus, Ohio, blending with the smell of warm rolls and the quiet tension that often shadowed Sunday dinners. I carefully placed each piece of silverware in perfect order while my younger sister, Madison, spoke loudly from the living room. "I'm up to 20,000 followers now," she announced, waving her phone like a trophy. "The sponsorships are coming in fast." I noticed Dad's approving nod from the corner of my eye. Mom's smile widened as she brushed a strand of hair from her face. "That's wonderful, sweetie," she said warmly. "Your dedication is really showing." I finished setting the last knife and took my seat, unnoticed as usual. At 27, I was still arranging the table like a child, still living in my old room while Madison, at 25, thrived as a social media influencer. Mom and Dad exchanged a look, the kind that signaled a conversation they'd already practiced. Mom cleared her throat, her tone turning soft and deliberate. "Alexandra, honey," she began, passing the mashed potatoes. "We need to talk about your room." I froze, fork suspended in midair. "Madison needs it for her studio," Mom continued, smiling as though she'd offered me something generous rather than taking something away. "The lighting's better there, and she could use the space for her setup." Before I could answer, Dad slammed his fist on the table, making the glasses tremble. "Either give it up or move out," he said sharply, his patience gone. "It's time you got your own place anyway." Across the table, Madison smirked, twisting a lock of blonde hair around her finger. "It's not like you need all that space just to shuffle papers," she added with a careless shrug. Silence followed. Everyone stared at me, waiting for an outburst or tears. Instead, I calmly cut a piece of roast and chewed, revealing nothing. Inside, another version of the scene played out. My small upstairs bedroom, and 10 by 12 feet, was more than a sleeping area. It was my workspace, my refuge, the hub of a life they didn't understand. Books on finance lined the shelves I'd built myself. My desk held a computer that displayed an investment portfolio worth millions. While they'd been applauding Madison's performances, I'd been working quietly, weekend jobs during high school, online financial courses through college, building a consulting business client by client. Under the table, I glanced at my phone, scrolling through apartment listings I'd been reviewing for weeks. I had been preparing to move out for a long time, saving and investing while they assumed I was stuck between temporary jobs. My thoughts drifted back to when I was 14. I could still feel the shoebox in my hands, counting out $780 in crumpled bills from diner shifts, enough for the laptop I needed. That afternoon, Mom had stood in my doorway smiling gently. "Madison needs video equipment for her school project," she'd said. "It might get her noticed by that arts program." I remembered Dad taking the box from me without hesitation, both of them talking over my objections. "Your sister needs this for her future," he'd said firmly. Later, I'd locked myself in the bathroom, crying quietly against the cold floor tiles, vowing never to rely on them again. That was when I understood my role, the invisible one, whose accomplishments would always be overlooked as a spreadsheet hobby. 13 years later, nothing had changed, except me. I placed my napkin neatly beside my plate and stood. The chair slid back soundlessly. "I understand," I said evenly. "I'll have my decision by next Sunday." Madison's confident smile faded, replaced by confusion. Mom and Dad exchanged uneasy looks. This wasn't the reaction they'd anticipated. They had expected pleading, the old Alexandra who would give in. From the far end of the table, my younger brother Eli watched me, not with amusement, but with something closer to concern. At 18, he was beginning to view his family with new clarity. "Alexandra," Mom began, but I was already heading toward the stairs, my back straight, my steps deliberate. "We can go over the details later," I said over my shoulder. "Madison, make a list of what you want to change in the room. I'll need to know what to prepare." Behind me, their conversation resumed instantly. Paint colors, lighting choices, layouts for Madison's new studio. They barely noticed I'd left, just as they'd rarely noticed when I was there. In the quiet of my room, I closed the door and reached for my phone. I scrolled to a contact I'd saved months ago but never used. Until now. "Marjorie Klein," a steady, professional voice answered on the second ring. I exhaled, feeling a weight lifting from years of silence. "Marjorie, this is Alexandra Pierce," I said, glancing out the window at the house across the street, the one with the for sale sign that had caught my attention weeks earlier. I'm ready to take the next step we discussed. The next morning, Dad's laptop sat unattended on the kitchen counter, his email open like an unguarded vault. I looked around, the house empty except for the hum of the dishwasher. My fingers hovered above the keyboard. This wasn't something I normally did, invading someone's privacy. But then again, neither was being told to vacate my own room. I clicked on a folder labeled Family Finances, the screen filled with spreadsheets. That made my stomach twist. Credit card statements stretched endlessly. A digital record of debts I hadn't known. Existed $180,000. The figure blinked at the bottom of the page. My parents had accumulated it all, funding Madison's influencer dream. Camera gear, lighting kits, editing software. Even a $3,000 charge from last month for a weekend workshop with a social media coach in Chicago. Each expense carefully tagged as a business cost in Dad's notes. Curiosity drove me deeper. An email thread appeared, my parents discussing a second mortgage. They'd leveraged the very house I grew up in for Madison's online fantasy. A new email notification appeared. Madison, talent agency. I hesitated, then opened it. I'm on track to hit 50K followers by next month, she'd written. I checked her actual numbers on Dad's analytics dashboard. 19,123, less than half of what she claimed. The front door rattled. I quickly closed the laptop and moved toward the stairs. Heart pounding. Mom walked in with grocery bags, barely acknowledging me. Alexandra? She called as I reached the landing. Don't forget Sunday's deadline. Madison's been planning that room for weeks. I paused, not turning around. My financial paperwork. We'll pack it up for you, Mom interrupted, her tone overly sweet, though some of it might get misplaced during cleaning. You know how that goes. The casual threat hit like a cold wind. 7 days. That's how long I had before they expected me to give up my space and the evidence of everything I'd built. I grabbed my laptop and headed to Crimson Cup Coffee, my unofficial second office. The barista nodded as I ordered my usual black coffee, no room. In my corner booth, I opened my own financial dashboard. The numbers glowed confidently back at me. $2.7 million in company earnings this fiscal year. 3 full-time employees. Clients in 4 countries. I took a slow sip. The bitterness grounding me, a quiet assurance replaced the doubt that had followed me since childhood. They had never seen me. Maybe they never would. My phone buzzed. A text from Marjorie Klein. Found 3 properties matching your criteria. Want to view them this afternoon? I stared at the screen as my plans solidified. This wasn't just about moving out. It was about making a point. I won't just leave, I whispered. I'll make sure they notice, I typed back. Yes, something specific, preferably visible from my parents' house. Her reply came instantly. I have just the place. 3 p.m.? For the first time in days, I smiled. Perfect. 3 hours later, Marjorie's sleek car rolls to a stop in front of a 2-story colonial, directly across from my parents' house. The for sale sign I've been watching for weeks still stands in the yard. This is exactly what I want, I tell Marjorie as we walk up the stone path. Something they'll see every single day. Her polished expression shifts slightly, one eyebrow rising. Interesting choice of words, she says while unlocking the door. Most clients talk about what they want to see, not what they want others to see. Before I can respond, someone calls my name from the sidewalk. Chloe Baxter waves as she crosses the street, a folder tucked under her arm. Her auburn hair glints in the afternoon light as she dodges a parked car. I brought those property listings you asked about, she says, joining us on the steps. But it looks like Marjorie already has you covered. Chloe has believed in me since college, back when my business plans were scribbled on coffee shop napkins. While others saw empty ambition, she saw promise. Alexandra's financials have been pre-approved, Marjorie notes as we tour the house. The sellers are motivated. We could fast-track this if you're serious. The master bedroom overlooks my parents' house. I stand by the window, picturing waking up to that view each morning. A daily reminder of what I've built, and what they never recognized. My bank manager was impressed with your records, Marjorie adds, typing notes into her tablet. Not many 27-year-olds qualify for a mortgage this large without co-signers. My phone buzzes. A text from Eli, whatever you're planning, you deserve better than this. I stare at the screen, caught off guard. Since when did my little brother start noticing? Since when did he start taking my side? I'll take it, I tell Marjorie, slipping my phone away. How soon can we close? Wednesday, if we push, she replies, eyes widening slightly. That's fast. Are you sure? Absolutely, I say, already running numbers in my head. I'll transfer the down payment tonight. Later, as my parents and Madison discuss her latest brand strategy at the kitchen table, I sit quietly, signing the preliminary papers Marjorie sent over. They still think I'm job hunting, unaware that their invisible daughter is about to become their very visible neighbor. The funds transfer. With one click, a substantial down payment, earned through years of effort they never asked about. The realization feels bittersweet. I'm buying a home but losing a family. Or maybe I lost them long ago, and this is just me accepting it. Pride fills the hollow space they left behind. I built this life without their support or belief. Maybe that makes it even more mine. As Madison laughs about her latest sponsorship deal, a thought crosses my mind. Is this revenge or freedom? Perhaps it's both. The next morning, sunlight filters through my curtains. I wake to the sound of movement in my room. Mom stands by my bookshelf, a garbage bag in one hand, several of my finance folders in the other. What are you doing? I ask, sitting up quickly. Just cleaning, sweetie, she says, her voice coated with that familiar sweetness. These old papers were collecting dust. I rush over and take the folders from her. These are important documents. Oh, Alexandra, she laughs lightly. You and your paperwork. Madison needs this space clear for her equipment. My phone buzzes on the nightstand. A notification from Madison's Instagram. A family photo from last Christmas. The caption reads, "Making room for my dream studio. So blessed to have supportive parents. Influencer life. Dreams coming true." I bite the inside of my cheek, tasting copper. 63 likes already, most from people who've never been here. I thought we agreed Sunday was moving day, I say, carefully returning the folders to the shelf. Mom sighs and ties the garbage bag. Plans changed. Madison's equipment arrives Wednesday now. You're always so adaptable, honey. That's what I love about you. Adaptable, their word for invisible. Downstairs, Dad sits at the kitchen table, coffee mug in hand. Newspaper spread open before him. His eyes lifted briefly when I entered the kitchen, then dropped back to the sports section. Morning, I said, pouring myself a cup of coffee. Some people in this house don't understand sacrifice, he muttered. Ungrateful kids taking advantage. The irony stung worse than the coffee's bitterness. I said nothing, spreading peanut butter on toast while silently counting the hours until I could leave this house for good. That evening, our relatives gathered around the dining table for Mom's monthly family dinner. Aunt Cheryl passed the green beans, while Uncle Jim gave a painfully detailed update about his golf game. I pushed food around my plate, half listening, until Mom tapped her spoon on her glass. We have some exciting news, she announced, her smile wide and perfectly rehearsed. Madison has a potential sponsorship with a major cosmetics company. They're sending professional gear for her videos. Aunt Cheryl clapped her hands. That's wonderful. Alexandra's giving up her room for Madison's studio, Mom continued, as though I'd volunteered for it. Such a supportive sister. All eyes turned to me, waiting for the dutiful response. I forced a smile and lifted my glass. Family supports family, right? Later that night, my phone buzzed with a message from Marjorie. Found it. The perfect house. 4 bedrooms. Right across from your parents. Virtual tour tomorrow? I stared at the screen, something like hope blooming inside me. Yes, I typed back. First thing, the virtual tour showed high ceilings and polished hardwood floors. But it was the office that stopped me cold, spacious, lined with built-in shelves, and a bay window facing my parents' front door. I could sit there, working in peace while watching them come and go, unseen. What do you think? Marjorie asked over the call. It's perfect, I whispered, eyes blurring with sudden tears. How soon can we close? With your financials and my contacts, she said confidently, you'll have keys in hand by Wednesday morning. Wednesday, I repeated, thinking of Madison's equipment delivery. It wasn't coincidence, it was poetic justice. The signing took place Tuesday afternoon, papers spread across Marjorie's polished mahogany desk. My hand trembled slightly as I signed the final page, equal parts fear and triumph rushing through me. Alexandra, Marjorie said softly as she gathered the documents. In 20 years of real estate, I've never met someone your age this prepared. I blinked rapidly, warmth spreading through me at her words. Back home, I was organizing client files when my bedroom door swung open without a knock. Madison strode in with a measuring tape, eyes scanning my walls. "Can I help you?" I asked without looking up. "Just measuring for my lighting setup," she said, stretching the tape across a wall. "It's barely big enough, but I'll make it work." I kept typing, calm and deliberate. "I see. My brand's nearing $1 million valuation," she went on, pacing the room. "I need this space more than you do. It's not like you're using it for anything meaningful." If only she knew. The irony of me building a financial empire while she chased followers and free makeup kits. "We'll see what happens Sunday," I said. Saving my document, Madison laughed sharply. "Mom and Dad already decided." "You don't have a choice." I looked up, meeting her gaze with a small, knowing smile. "Everyone has choices. Some just take longer to make them." Confusion flickered in her eyes before she rolled them and slammed the door behind her. That night, Chloe showed up with empty boxes once my family had left for their weekly movie outing. "Operation Independence is a go," she whispered, pulling packing tape from her purse. "I've got the essentials list." I hugged her tightly. "Thank you." We worked fast, packing what mattered most but leaving enough behind to keep up appearances. An hour later, my college friends arrived with more boxes and quiet resolve. "Eli texted," Chloe said, sealing another box. "Your parents stopped for ice cream. He'll stall them." My brother's unexpected help warmed something inside me that had been frozen for years. Just past midnight, Marjorie called. "We're confirmed. Closing at 9 a.m., movers will be at your parents' house by 10, while everyone's at work." Wednesday morning was clear and bright. I stood on the sidewalk, watching as Marjorie's car approached. She stepped out, keys dangling from her fingers. "Congratulations, homeowner," she said, placing them in my hand. The movers arrived promptly at 10, efficient, quiet, and precise. I guided them through the house where I'd grown up, pointing out what to take and what to leave behind. My desk, books, and clothes, tangible reminders of a life that had been tucked away for years. By noon, I stood in the master bedroom of my new home, watching as the movers assembled my bed frame. Through the window, I could see directly across the street, into the bedroom that had been mine for 27 years. "Where would you like this desk, ma'am?" one mover asked, motioning toward it. "In the office," I replied, facing the front window. Chloe arrived with lunch just as the movers finished. Her eyes lit up as she explored the space. "This is stunning, Alex, and huge." We sat on the living room floor, surrounded by boxes, eating sandwiches. "Are you doing this for revenge?" she asked quietly. "To make them see what they ignored?" I paused, watching sunlight stretch across the hardwood floors. "This isn't revenge," I said finally. "It's about being seen." That evening, I organized important documents, deed, financial records, company files, into a leather portfolio. They were proof of the life I'd built when no one was watching. Standing before my bathroom mirror, I practiced my expression, ensuring calm composure, no trace of anger or pain. Sunday's moment had to be delivered with poise, not emotion. I chose my outfit for the occasion, a tailored navy blazer, cream silk blouse, and my grandmother's pearl earrings. Professional, familiar. The version of Alexandra they recognized, yet truly visible for the first time. When the last box was unpacked, I walked back to my parents' house one final time. In my bare old bedroom, I placed my childhood teddy bear on the pillow, the only personal item left. A silent farewell to the girl who had lived unseen. Saturday night, I stood by my new window, watching the lights across the street. Madison's car pulled up, laughter spilling out as her friends followed. Through the upstairs window, I could see them inspecting my empty room while Madison gestured enthusiastically, describing her plans. My phone buzzed, a text from Eli. "They think you're staying with Chloe. What's really going on?" I smiled, typing back, "Meet me for coffee tomorrow. You'll want to see this." Setting my phone down, I walked through my quiet home, fingers brushing along the walls that were finally mine. On the entry table, I centered the folder containing the deed. "Tomorrow," I whispered into the silence. "They'll finally see me." Sunday morning arrived with a rare clarity. I adjusted my charcoal gray blazer, perfectly fitted, and crossed the street toward my parents' house. The weight of the portfolio grounded me. Through the front window, I saw them gathered at the kitchen table. The place that had once felt like confinement, now simply a stage. 2 firm knocks. My mother opened the door, her smile faltering at the sight of my professional attire. "Alexandra? We weren't expecting you this early." Her eyes flicked past me toward the street. "Where's Chloe's car?" "I walked," I said simply, stepping inside. The kitchen went silent. Dad looked up from his paper, Madison from her phone. Only Eli smiled genuinely. I poured myself coffee from the familiar pot, an old routine that, today, felt entirely my own choice. "I thought you'd be bringing your things," Madison said sweetly, though her tone carried calculation. "I've already chosen paint samples, a blush pink with gold accents for my backdrop wall." I settled into my usual chair, legs crossed. "That sounds nice." She continued describing her renovation plans, the lighting, the setup. I nodded occasionally, sipping my coffee, noticing Dad's growing impatience. The timing mattered. "When are you moving your things?" he finally asked, folding his newspaper with a sharp snap. The room stilled. I met his gaze, my voice calm. "I already did. Wednesday was my first day." Mom's coffee cup clinked softly against its saucer. "Staying with Chloe isn't a real solution, Alexandra. You need to think about this logically," Dad says with a dry laugh that lacks warmth. "You'll be back once rent catches up with you. Real life is costly, especially for someone with your work record." Madison leans forward, giving my hand a pat filled with practiced sympathy. "Don't be dramatic just because you're envious of my success. Everyone has their own pace, even if yours takes a little longer." They appear united, sure of their judgments. Yet, for the first time, I see uncertainty flicker in Mom's eyes as I remain calm despite their condescension. "Thanks for your concern," I say evenly, placing the folder on the coffee table with deliberate care. "But I'm not renting. I bought a house." The words linger, changing the atmosphere between us. I let silence settle, watching their faces shift. Confusion, disbelief, then faint alarm. "The one across the street, actually," I add, turning to point through the window. My new home, 3 stories of brick and character, stands proudly in their direct view. Mom's coffee cup slips, spilling brown liquid across the white tablecloth. Dad's mouth opens, but no sound comes. Madison freezes, her phone forgotten mid-post. "How could you afford that?" Eli finally asks, not accusing, just amazed. I straighten, ready to speak the truth I've hidden for years. "I run a financial consulting firm." "A what?" Dad stammers. "A financial consulting firm," I repeat calmly. "We handle investment strategies and portfolios for clients nationwide. We cleared $2.7 million in revenue last quarter." The weight of years of dismissal hangs in the room. Eli's eyes widen, respect softening his features. Mom recovers first, her smile tight. "It's probably just a starter home with a manageable loan. That area's gotten more affordable lately." Without a word, I slide over my financial documents. I paid 60% upfront. The rest is financed at 2.8%. Madison's phone slips from her hand, clattering onto her plate. "You lied about your job," Dad snaps, slamming his palm on the table. "No," I reply steadily. "You assumed I wasn't successful. You never asked what I actually do." The words hit harder than I expect. Dad falls silent. Mom abruptly stands, clutching her phone. "I need to call Aunt Patricia. This decision—" "Go ahead," I interrupt mildly, sipping my coffee. "She already knows. She'll be at my housewarming next weekend." Within the hour, the family machine kicks in. Mom calls 3 relatives, her voice strained as each responds with unexpected support for my independence. Madison posts a vague story about toxic family drama, which gains little traction compared to her usual updates. Through the window, I see Mr. Johnson pause mid-walk, admiring the antique desk being carried into my front door. The neighborhood gossip chain activates instantly. Alexandra Pierce, successful businesswoman, moves into the Henderson property. The doorbell rings. Chloe steps in, holding a potted fiddle leaf fig and a bottle of champagne. "A housewarming gift for the new homeowner," she says cheerfully, ignoring the tension. "Thank you," I reply warmly. Her genuine kindness stands in sharp contrast to my family's calculated discomfort. Eli stands, glancing between our parents and me. Can I see your new place, Alex? The question carries more than curiosity. It's the first break in their united front. Of course, I say, gathering my things. Anytime. As we prepare to leave, Dad clears his throat. We should talk about your future visits. Sunday dinners are family tradition. I'm still family, I respond gently. Just living across the street now. Mom forces a smile. Of course, we just want to understand this sudden shift. Not sudden, I correct. Just finally visible. Outside, I spot Marjorie's car at the corner market, right on time for her weekly routine. By afternoon, the whole neighborhood will know about my purchase and the down payment I made. As Eli, Chloe, and I head for the door, a delivery van pulls up to my house. The driver carries a lavish floral arrangement. Congratulations from my business partners, perfectly timed and visible from my parents' window. I glance back once more. Madison scrolls frantically as notifications about fake followers flood her feed. Mom and Dad exchange uneasy looks, the unsent mortgage application open in Dad's drafts feeling suddenly heavier. Success is often built in quiet rooms, I murmur, while others are performing. The door closes softly behind us, half an inch of polished oak dividing past from future. Across the street, my new home gleams under the Sunday sun. 2 weeks later, the doorbell rings, interrupting my quiet morning coffee. Through the peephole, I see my mother's perfectly styled hair and the edge of a pie dish. I take a breath, straighten, and open the door. Alexandra, sweetheart, Mom says, holding up a golden apple pie, steam rising from its lattice top. I made your favorite. We should talk. I step aside, gesturing for her to come in. Of course, Mom. Her eyes move quickly, observing the elegant decor, the open space, and the subtle signs of success she had never noticed before. This is quite something you've accomplished here, she says, setting the pie on my kitchen counter. Her fingers touch her pearl necklace, adjusting it for no real reason. Your father and I always believed in you, you know. I pour her some coffee, choosing not to reply. The silence grows heavy between us. Madison's been struggling with sponsors, she finally says, staring into her cup instead of at me. Something about her follower count. Technical things I don't really get. I see, I reply evenly. Family supports family, Alexandra. Mom reaches across the counter to touch my hand. I don't move away, but I don't return the gesture either. We've always stood by each other, haven't we? Later that afternoon, Dad makes his move. He catches me at the mailbox, his timing too precise to be random. Your mother misses you, he says without preface. We all do. It's time to let go of the past and move forward as a family. I nod politely while sorting the mail. I'm open to that possibility, Dad. His relief is visible, but misplaced. That evening, my phone lights up with a flood of texts from Madison. You're tearing this family apart. Mom cried all afternoon. Everyone says you're selfish after everything they did for you. I place the phone face down and go back to reviewing client portfolios. The messages keep coming, each one affecting me less than the last. The next morning, Mom calls. Aunt Patricia asked why you weren't at Sunday dinner, she says. Everyone's worried about the family image. People are talking. Dad follows with a voicemail, hinting that my business success seems suspiciously quick and asking if I might be involved in something questionable. The final message arrives as a formal dinner invitation, hand-delivered. To my mailbox.elegant script on cream cardstock, invites me to the family home tomorrow at 7 to reconcile our differences. A postscript in Mom's handwriting adds, after all we've done for you growing up. That night, as the house quiets, doubt begins to whisper. Old feelings of guilt return. Tracing familiar roots in my mind. Maybe I've been too rigid. Maybe there's a middle ground where I can have both peace and self-respect. The next morning, Chloe shows up with bagels and blunt honesty. Remember the laptop money? She asks, spreading cream cheese a bit too forcefully. $800 you saved from diner shifts, and they used it for Madison's camera gear? I flinch at the memory. That was 13 years ago, I say, though the hurt still feels current. Patterns don't change unless people do, Chloe replies. After she leaves, I pull out the journals I've kept since childhood. Each page repeats the same pattern. My achievements overlooked, my needs secondary, my resources diverted for Madison's ambitions. The realization comes quietly but firmly. Their love was always conditional. Mine doesn't have to be. The next evening, I arrive at my parents' house at exactly 7. The table is set with the good china. Madison sulks at her seat while Mom adjusts flowers and Dad pours wine too carefully. Alexandra, Mom says, her cheerfulness overdone. You came? I sit down, composed and confident. The shift is obvious. I'm no longer the daughter chasing approval. I'm a woman who chose to be here on her own terms. Madison tries a few digs during the salad course. Not everyone can buy their way into feeling important. She mutters. I meet her eyes calmly. You're right. Some people have to earn it. Her fork drops against her plate. When the main course arrives, Dad clears his throat, signaling it's time for their planned reconciliation. I needed to build my own life, I say before they begin. You needed me to stay invisible. Those two things couldn't coexist. Mom's hand stops halfway to her glass. Alexandra, I'm open to a relationship, I continue steadily, but not one built on what you can take from me. The silence that follows is heavy. What exactly do you mean? Dad finally asks, his tone cautious. I explain, calmly and precisely, how I spent years building my business, how I paid for my education through scholarships and part-time jobs, and how every attempt to share my progress was brushed aside. That so-called spreadsheet hobby, I remind them, is now worth millions. Madison's face tightens, caught between anger and jealousy. For the first time, she understands the gap between her purchased followers and my earned achievements. The realization stings. Mom quickly tries to redirect. Speaking of your business, Alexandra, maybe you could help with the family finances, just until Madison gets stable again? The trap is laid, though not as she expected. I take a folder from my bag, filled with proof of every time they took from me. My laptop savings, the college funds used for Madison's photo shoots. Dad starts to object, but stops when he sees his own signature on a withdrawal slip from my college account. Madison bursts into a tantrum about fairness and family loyalty, revealing her entitlement more clearly than I ever could with words. Through it all, I remain calm. The family's illusion unravels around us. Yet I neither gloat nor rage. There's no joy in watching them face the truth, only quiet relief at finally being seen. When you're ready to build a relationship based on respect, I'm here, I say once the shouting fades, but that includes financial boundaries. I won't support anyone without accountability. I turn to Madison. You can apologize sincerely and start fresh, or hold your ground and keep your distance. My parents sit silent, facing consequences for perhaps the first time. You once gave me an ultimatum about my room, I say, rising from the table. I chose freedom. Without tears or anger, I walk out, crossing the short distance to my own home. From my porch, I can see their house glowing with artificial warmth. Eli appears at his upstairs window. I lift my hand in a small wave, a gesture of connection separate from our parents. He waves back, thoughtful. One by one, their lights go out as I stand there. My home stays bright, warm, with the light of independence. In the following weeks, word spreads through the neighborhood. Madison's career collapse has accelerated. Her fake follower scheme exposed, sponsors gone, her influencer persona dissolving. Meanwhile, my parents face looming financial trouble, drained by years of supporting her illusions. When the for sale sign appears on their lawn, I feel no victory or pity, only the quiet recognition that some lessons come at a steep cost. The morning sun filters through my kitchen window, casting golden light across the counter. 6 months have passed since that fateful dinner, and what once felt like rebellion now simply feels like life. I cradle my coffee mug and step onto the porch, breathing in the crisp autumn air. This house, not my parents', not my childhood room, but mine, has turned from a statement into a sanctuary. The once bare living room now displays framed awards from the Columbus Business Association, including last month's Emerging Entrepreneur honor. My consulting firm has grown to 5 employees, all remote, but we meet monthly in my converted dining room for strategy sessions. Across the street, my parents' curtains remain drawn. The for sale sign still stands, appearing soon after Madison's final sponsored post announcing her new entry-level marketing job. I take another sip of coffee, surprised at how little satisfaction I feel. The revenge fantasy has burned away, leaving peace in its place. Morning, Alexandra. Mrs. Henderson calls from her driveway. Those mums on your steps are beautiful, I wave back. Still adjusting to being noticed in a neighborhood where I was once invisible. Inside, I glance at the clock. 3 hours until the housewarming party. The irony isn't lost on me. The same dining table where my parents once gave their ultimatum now sits in my home, symbolizing celebration instead of control. I bought it at their estate sale, paying double, while Madison glared from the porch. The doorbell rings. Eli stands there holding a potted plant. You're early, I say, stepping aside. Thought you might need help setting up. He sets the plant down, hands in his pockets. At 19, he's taller, steadier. Community college has been good for him. Place looks great, he says. Thanks for coming, I reply, squeezing his arm. Our bond has been the unexpected gift, a real sibling relationship built on respect, not shared pain. Remember when Dad asked where you saw yourself in 5 years? Eli asks as he arranges chairs. At that dinner? I nod, unpacking the catering. Where do you see yourself now? He says. This time the question feels different. No longer a demand for justification, but an invitation to dream. Now it felt like genuine curiosity, an urge to create something meaningful. Building something that matters, I said. Not just a business, but a life where my worth wasn't defined by anyone's approval. Last week, while unpacking the final box, I came across my childhood journal. On the last page, I had written, "The room they wanted to take became the foundation for the life I built." Those words now felt like a bridge between past and future, acknowledging the pain, but not allowing it to define me. By noon, my house was alive with voices. Chloe arrived first, wrapping me in a hug. To building your own house, literally and figuratively, she said, raising her glass in a toast. Next came Marjorie Klein, no longer here as my realtor, but as a friend. My business partners soon followed, joined by clients who had turned into allies. The air buzzed with talk of new ventures and expansion plans. Between conversations, I slipped into my office to finalize the scholarship paperwork, a fund for business students from difficult family situations. Just yesterday, I had mentored a young woman whose father constantly undermined her career goals. Her expression changed when I shared my story. Your worth isn't determined by those who refuse to see it, I told her. Last week, I helped Eli apply for an engineering program, his gift for numbers finally finding direction after years of living in Madison's shadow. By evening, I stood watering plants on my porch when Madison's small U-Haul pulled up across the street. She was moving into a modest downtown apartment, smaller than planned, but a fresh start nonetheless. Our parents packed the last of their belongings into their car, leaving the foreclosed house behind. I lifted my hand in a brief wave as they looked my way. Not forgiveness exactly, but recognition. They once told me to give up my room, so I built a company within it and bought a home facing theirs. That night, standing in my bedroom doorway, I took in the space that was completely mine. No one could take it away or diminish its meaning. My business kept growing, opening doors for others as well. My relationship with my parents remained distant, boundaries firmly in place, though maybe someday. Healing could happen if they were willing. I slid between cool sheets in the master bedroom, moonlight tracing patterns on the ceiling. For the first time in my life, I fell asleep without questioning my worth. Have you ever faced the choice between pleasing family and standing up for yourself? Alexandra discovered that true self-respect often means setting boundaries. What would you have done in her place? Share your thoughts below.